From the land of frozen lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, it's another episode of 10K Takes Television. We are into March. That means tons of things going on, including the boys' state hockey tournament at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, one of the crown jewel events on the prep calendar. And the matchups are set, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And it's interesting because if you look at AA, it's 7 of the 8 teams from last year back again this year. And then in Class A, the top 3 seeds are the same. They're a little bit jumbled from a year ago, but they are the same. So let's take a look at those day one matchups in the quarterfinals. Hermantown and Laverne started off. Hermantown, of course, was the number 1 seed last year, and now they're the number 2 seed, and then they flip-flop. Warroad was the 2 seed. They're the number 1 seed. They'll play St. Cloud Cathedral in the evening, Matamidi and Alex and Orono and Northfield. So 4 of the 8 are back in Class A, Alexandria being the other one along with Matamidi. In AA, as I said, it's 7 of the 8, and the only newcomer, the number 1 seed, Minnetonka, as they take on Hill Murray. Andover, who, of course, defending state champions over Maple Grove last year, they'll play Lakeville South. Edina taking on Moorhead. Edina, I guess it was kind of an upset to beat Wayzata, gets in, and then Maple Grove will take on Cretin-Derham Hall. So some really marquee matchups, and to break it all down for us, we've got a guy who follows it day in and day out. It is David Lavaque from the Star-Tribune. And David, I mentioned that there's 7 of the 8 back in AA. Does that make this less interesting or more interesting in your mind?
I think it makes it more interesting. I think that the teams that are back are by and large exciting teams, and they're not teams that you necessarily are sick of. I think they play really good hockey with a lot of individual star power, and I think it's shaped up to be a really great field.
David, Maple Grove, the 2 seed, Class AA. Crimson won the Prep Bowl in football. How rare would it be for a school to pull off that daily double in the same calendar year?
I would have to assume it was pretty rare. I think that going back to maybe mid-'80s, Burnsville did something like that. And I'm not sure if we saw Eden Prairie do that more recently. And I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody along the way, but those are the 2 that jump to mind as potential candidates.
How good is that Maple Grove team?
Well, I'm told they're very good. Ken Pauley was my guest on our podcast for the Star-Tribune today. We'll put that out tomorrow on Tuesday. And I asked him about the quarterfinal matchups, and he said Maple Grove, he said, he felt that they're underrated as a team that finished runner-up last year could be. He thinks Maple Grove hasn't gotten the rankings love as they probably should, and he wouldn't be surprised if you see them standing at the end of this thing.
David, with all due respect to Denver, where they've got the Colorado Avalanche and the Denver Pioneers, and they now think of themselves as Hockey Town USA, I know you're going to write about Warroad. Tell us about how special it is for that city to have a team down here at State, and then the designation of being Hockey Town, and how it's woven into the fabric of really everywhere you go in that city.
Yeah, and it's not even a double dip, as you said. It's now a triple threat because the girls just won their tournament. So they've got hockey coming out of their ears in Warroad as usual. Hockey success, actually, this time around. But yeah, we were up there. Lauren Nelson and I were up there in January for the Hermantown game at the Warroad Gardens, and they had the sweatshirts for Hockey Day Minnesota with the logos in full supply, and they were selling very well, and people are really excited to have the spotlight on them in a town that is hockey's in the blood, and it's going to be a fun event up there in 24 for sure.
Roseau is always equated with Warroad when you talk about hockey in that part of the state of Minnesota. They've been playing AA the last few years. Do you see them going back to A or Warroad moving into AA anytime soon?
I don't see them changing. I think that they take a lot of pride in, and it's something Bill Lechner said a few years ago. He talked about we've been in the tournament as many times as we have, but we've only won it 3 or 4 times. But it's such a valued trophy when you pursue it in a AA context.
So War Road has, the guys and the gals, huge success on the ice, but so does Andover. And this has been, it's not a trend anymore. This is just the way it is. Andover hockey, strong guys and gals, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that if you want to build your program up, I think your first step apparently should be to change your school colors to black and gold, because Andover and War Road are having a really good time of it right now. Yes, the Andover girls team, they were the runner-ups this year in the championship, and that was their 4th consecutive championship game. They went 2-2 during that stretch. They won 2 and they took second twice. So they've got it going, and they're going to lose some key people after this year to graduation, but I think that they've got a lot to come in behind it with Andover girls. And then the boys, same thing. They couldn't get over the hump for several years against Duluth East. They didn't have to play them with Mike Randolph as the coach, but they did still break through finally. They got to the tournament. They suffered an upset that first year in the first round of St. Thomas Academy. But now you see they've got that under their belt, and they've got their footing when it comes to the state tournament. And I expect them to be one heck of a semifinal with Minnetonka, first of all, and then we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, they've got it going on right now for sure.
Well, you mentioned Minnetonka, and they're the number 1 seed in this tournament. And obviously they have a very strong girls program as well, as does Edina. They ended up playing for 3rd place in the girls tournament, but they're 1-3, and they could very well meet in this championship game of this year's tournament. What are your thoughts? First of all, give me briefly on Minnetonka, but clue me in on Edina after beating Wayzata, coming off that loss to them just 11 days before.
Yeah, first of all, Minnetonka, they have a lot of depth, and they know how to use it effectively. That was a game against Chanhassen where they weren't lighting anything up. They had to grind out that game, and they were able to win it in that manner in double overtime. So it's not a team that is just going to try to line up their stars and overwhelm you. If they have to get their hands dirty, they can, and that probably bodes well for them in the state tournament, because you're going to be playing in a foreign environment to a lot of these kids and a pressure cooker. So to be able to win ugly is huge, and Minnetonka proved they can do that. As far as Edina, really a lot of the same. They're very structured and they're very disciplined at what they do. They're not going to wow you with an up and down sort of north-south kind of hockey, but it's very effective. They get after you, and they come in waves, and it's a compliment to them that you can't really tell them apart, because they all just seem to be guys with a lot of skill and a lot of speed and a lot of desire to go get the puck. Their leader is Jackson Nevers, who's going to go to the University of Minnesota. But they're a hard-working team, and they've got a great goalie in Robbie Klarkowski behind him. He's one of those guys up for the Frank Brimzek Award. So Edina's got a lot going for them here in the playoffs.
Hey, great stuff, David. Enjoy the prep hockey tournament out there at the X.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yes, it is. All right. Thanks,
I just
David.
get invited back. Thanks.
He's David Lavaque, Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Coming up, we'll talk to Sean Goldsworthy, head coach at Minnetonka. This is 10K Takes, your Pucks ticket.
Nice Rink makes it easy and affordable to create your own outdoor rink. We're hockey players ourselves and spent the last quarter century perfecting the Nice Rink system for the skating community. It is truly engineered to be simple and affordable. Visit nicerink.com now or call us at 1-888-NICE-RINK to order. Spend less, get more.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back, 10,000 Takes. Our boys state hockey tournament special continues. And, Eric, the number one team in the state, at least towards the latter portion of this year's schedule, the Skippers of Minnetonka, and they have been on a roll, and deservedly so. They are the number one seed in this year's Class AA tournament. It'll be interesting to see how they navigate, because they're the only team that's new to this year's AA tournament. And right now we are joined by their head coach, Sean Goldsworthy. And Sean, first of all, welcome to the show and congratulations. I know that winning your section is never easy, but you guys, kind of put the pedal to the metal in the section playoffs this year.
Great year so far. By the way, thanks for having me and representing high school hockey. I think it's a great time of the year, and the state kind of shuts down for a week here and really enjoys it. So culture's good. But yeah, we had a great year. Getting out our section almost feels like a state tournament itself this year. It ended up being us and Chanhassen, two top-ranked teams. And in previous years, it seems like it's us at Eden Prairie. And every once in a while, like last year, Prior Lake had a great year. And it's just really hard to get out of here sometimes. And when you do, you're ready to do special things.
Sean, describe your coaching style and how you get the most out of today's high school athlete with so many distractions. It's different than when we played. What's your style? What's your MO?
Well, you couldn't have hit it more straight there. It's, the kids are under a constant barrage between phones and apps and TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. I mean, it's constant. The barrage of raising a child is really difficult for anybody that's got a teenager. But, we have a really special group of kids. I knew they were going to buy in a year or two ago, and I've worked with these guys for a while. We have great leadership in our room with our senior, with a kid named William Hupka, who's one of the best defenders in the state. But this is a good group. I really try to build trust with the kids. I try to be around. I think over my career, 27 years now, if you're really going to be a coach that wants to drive the bus hard and get the most out of kids day in and day out, which means you got to be difficult sometimes. They got to love you first. They got to trust you. In today's culture, kids got to know you love them first, and then they'll go through the wall for you. And these kids have done that for me all year, but they also know there's an unconditional love behind it, and that takes time. It takes over a year to develop that relationship.
All right. You've talked about your style. How does that transfer to what you have on the ice? What can we look for when we see you guys hit the ice this weekend?
Well, I think the biggest challenge coaching in the last 5-10 years is, the game, at least in Minnesota high school, is broken into 4 pieces, and a bulk of the year is very individual accolades, high performance, AAA, summer training, individual skills, is to get the kids on the same page and play really unselfish. And that's been our probably MO all year. When people watch us play, we move the puck really, really well. This team is really unselfish. I actually have to remind these guys to shoot more, which is rare. I don't think I've had to do that in any of my previous 5 years. But these kids would prefer to share the puck and play fast. We get vertical really quick. So I think, I tell our guys we want to be the best puck-moving team in the state, and I think we've shown that.
Is part of the challenge as a head coach, Sean, knowing which kids to kiss and which ones to kick? As you said, you got to give them that tough love sometimes, but they're all different personalities, and some handle it differently than others.
Yeah, anyone that's been in coaching for a long time will tell you there's no more cookie cutter to it. You don't walk in and cover 6 to 8 kids in one comment or 10. You got to really know how to handle each kid. And I think that's what helps me. I've coached for a long time, so I can relate to kids. And I tell some of our kids, hey, listen, I've already coached you 4 or 5 times. There's just a different name with a different skill set and same personality. So you do have to kind of push different buttons at different times. Some kids need to be prodded. Some kids need to be loved up a little bit more. But I think the end result is the same. You want to get them to all the same point where they're playing their best hockey, which is hesitant-free with really good habits.
You open up the tournament on Thursday night against Hill Murray, a team you played earlier this year. You beat them 5-0, but as you told me before we started the interview, the game was a lot closer than that until the latter parts of the third period. What kind of a game can we expect on Thursday against Hill?
Well, I think at this point in the year, you got to expect a 1-goal game. And if you don't, you're probably looking at the consolation bracket sooner than you thought. So, I have a ton of respect for Bill Lechner. He's a friend of mine. I used to recruit from his team. I was in the college game for a long time. And they are really well coached. They're going to be really disciplined. They're not going to beat themselves, so you're going to have to really play your game and play it well. I'm expecting a one-goal game. I think they are too. I think when we played them earlier on, they were down a couple guys. We weren't quite settled into our kind of our game. I think we had just come off losing to Wayzata. At that time, we were I think 9-2, and we had won some big games. But we're a different team now. We're 2 months later. Hill Murray's a different team. They're playing really well hockey. It's going to be a one-goal game. I think our depth is going to help us. I think we're a little bit older, but in a 17-minute periods in high school hockey, I think we all agree that anything can happen. So we're going to be focused on Thursday. We're focused on how to beat Hill Murray, and then we'll figure it out from there.
The X will be the center of the hockey universe for a few days. How do you make sure your kids don't have that stage fright or that shock and awe look that, hey, we're here in the home of the Wild and all that good stuff?
Yeah, we've played in, a number 1 versus number 2 game. I think this 5 times this year, whether it was Wayzata and Bally's about a month ago, and we played Edina for the Lake Conference title about 3 weeks ago. Early on, we were able to play to Andover on week 1, and then we turned around and we were able to, play some other high teams. I think Rogers at one point was number 1, and we were number 2 or 3. So we won all those games, and we kind of played the highlight game, and everything streamed. So, in order to get them ready for St. Paul, to be honest with you, you got to limit distractions. We're going to show up and get off the bus and play. That's what we do. So instead of getting off the bus and going to Aldrich Arena in St. Paul, we're getting off the bus and we're playing at the X. I don't think the kids will have too many big moments on it. We got a really good laser-focused group of kids. I'm going to let them have their moment early, but then we're going to lock them in pretty quick and get to our game as quick as possible. So obviously, you want them to have fun. This is a lifetime experience for them. But I think we've proven that we're in a spot where we're one of the teams that can go in and win this thing.
Those who don't know, I will let you know, of course. Sean, your dad was Bill Goldsworthy, of course, who played for the North Stars and was very good. Have you taught any of your players the Goldie Shuffle is my question.
Well, you're dating yourself with that question, first off, but I think that's awesome. I think a lot of people that remember the old North Stars, whether it's JP or my dad or Louie or all those guys, that's awesome. That's kind of the roots of Minnesota hockey at the origins of it. So it's wonderful. I do catch myself saying old man moments and his cliches and his way to talk. And, kids are asking me, Coach, where'd you hear that? I'm like, well, it's probably when I was your age and I was going through this process too. But to answer the direct question is no. I don't think the kids want to know what the Goldie Shuffle is. I think they all have their own versions now of different things. Back then celebrations were rare. Now we got kids doing the gritty. We got doing different stuff. And we're just trying to teach our kids to celebrate with their best buddies and hug each other up. I think that's the best way to score. At least that's the way I learned it. So we'll go there. I think from the big picture, though, you want kids to enjoy each other. So when you have moments to celebrate, let's do it, right? So, but I love the reference. We'll probably see some old North Star jerseys too. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, you see them everywhere. Yeah. I miss that green and gold and that logo.
Yeah, I love it when the Wild bring out the retro jerseys, and I always get a couple texts, or a good friend of mine like Mark Osiki just sent me a text and said congrats, and it was an old picture of my dad from 72 or something. So I was 1 at the time, so it's like great, yeah, awesome. That's good stuff. It's a good memory.
Well, if anybody asks you about this interview, tell your players to Google it or find it on YouTube. I'm sure that they can do that.
They know how to do that. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Thanks much, Sean. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
All right, guys. You have a great night, and thank you for covering high school hockey. It's been a wonderful year.
All right, thank you. He is Sean Goldsworthy. He is the head coach of the number 1 ranked and number 1 seeded Minnetonka Skippers. They are in this year's Boys State Hockey Tournament. More on today's show after this. Time out. Stay with us.
Taxes don't have to be taxing, not with Keller Tax Service. For over 20 years, Linda Keller has prepared taxes for all types of professions and businesses. She has perfected the virtual tax appointment through phone or video. With Keller Tax Service, you never leave home. Call Keller Tax Service at 320-352-0013 or check out Keller Tax Service online at kellertaxservice.com. Take the anxiety out of taxes with Keller Tax Service at kellertaxservice.com.
Welcome back, 10,000 Takes. Well, it wasn't that long ago where we were bemoaning what the Minnesota Wild were doing. They weren't scoring goals, and they weren't necessarily winning games, but they're still not necessarily scoring goals, but they are winning hockey games, and they put themselves in a pretty good position coming into this week.
Yeah, their MO recently has been winning, like 2-1. 3-2 is almost like an offensive explosion. So they're getting great goaltending from Philippe Gustafsson and Marc-Andre Fleury, and the defensemen ahead of those two guys are doing their jobs. They do need to put the puck in the net more often. But I guess if you want to look at it from a glass half full perspective, usually when you get to the playoffs, things tighten up, right? It becomes more physical,
right.
And it is all about your goaltending and your defense. So if they can keep winning this way, they may have to do it as well in the postseason Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah, right now they're chasing down Dallas in the Central Division.
Yeah, they have a shot, that's for sure. Do you like the moves they made? They pick up, 2 or 3 guys to spark the offense. They trade away Jordan Greenway. I was surprised to see that.
Yeah, I'm dizzy. It was just a flurry of moves by Bill Guerin.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Exactly. Or the blizzards that we've been having all winter here in the Twin Cities. Snow flurries every time I look up. But, didn't like to see Jordan Greenway go. I know he did some good things here, but I think the Wild felt like they had to do what they're doing to, try to elevate and get to that next level, because even though Dallas is on top, and you still have to look out for Colorado, right? The reigning Stanley Cup champs, and then you've got teams like Edmonton and the Los Angeles Kings. You can't discount the Seattle Kraken in their second year. They become a solid hockey team. So they're trying to get over that playoff hump. That's really, to me, what it's all about for the Wild.
Yeah. Speaking of playoffs, Big Ten hockey. Your Minnesota Golden Gopher men's hockey team is the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They play Michigan State this weekend. They're at home. They are into the single elimination portion of the tournament. And then if they win, they will host on the 18th of March the Big Ten championship game. They're in the NCAA tournament. They're the number 1 in pairwise right now, so they're the number 1 team in the nation. And then the women's team is the number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, so they are already into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Frost has just done a marvelous job over the years with the Gopher women, and it's really a disappointment if they don't win the women's Frozen Four. As far as the men go, I think you have to throw that gauntlet down too. I mean, it's been a fabulous regular season. Can you get to the Frozen Four, and can you come back as a champion? It's been a long time. You got to go back to the days of Don Lucia when they had the repeat titles, and then you had repeat riots in Dinkytown with the students and the fans going bananas. But I think that has to be the expectation with U of M hockey.
Yeah, no question. Bob Motzko's done a great job. We knew it was going to take a couple of years for them to get to the level that they want to be at, but I think they're there right now. And as you've said many times on the radio show, now's the time. Win now.
I don't think there's any doubt. And, as we know, Minnesota's starving for a champion of any kind and any sport. So how about go for hockey delivering?
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, I know you're burning to talk football. We're going to let you do that in Takes of the Day. That's coming up next. This is 10,000 Takes, your Pucks ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya? Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Nice Rink makes it easy and affordable to create your own outdoor rink. We're hockey players ourselves and spent the last quarter century perfecting the Nice Rink system for the skating community. It is truly engineered to be simple and affordable. Visit nicerink.com now or call us at 1-888-NICE-RINK to order. Spend less, get more.
10K Takes on television. We wrap up yet another episode. Takes of the Day coming up shortly. We should talk some U of M Gopher hoops. The winds of change are swirling over there in Dinkytown. Lindsey Whalen out. He's the women's coach.
Yeah, it came immediately after they lost. in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. And I think that there were a lot of people that were surprised because she did have one of the top recruiting classes in the country that came in this year, and she's got some big-time names coming in again next year. But, just it's been a struggle. She was 26 games below 500 in her Big Ten tenure over those 5 years. And, man, you got to win Big Ten games. At least play 500 in the Big Ten, right? And then get to the NCAA tournament, which she never did.
No, just a couple of WNIT appearances. She clearly did not have success as a head coach. I think a lot of us, like you said, thought she'd get one more shot with the core of young talent. But she's out, and she's going to stay on in another capacity with AD Mark Coyle. I think the big question now is, if these young players that have a lot of upside stick around, they don't enter the transfer portal, and that's a big if. Yeah. Whoever comes in does not have a cupboard that is empty. They should be able to coach them up and maybe have success as soon as next year. But we'll see what happens with that transfer portal. It's a game changer for all coaches.
Yeah, I think that, again, Lindsay apparently was in on this decision. They say that she resigned. Seemed like she was asked perhaps to think about resigning, if nothing else. And, the odd press conference where she didn't come to the press conference. And that was just very weird.
I have a hard time believing it. Lindsay Whalen is ultra competitive. She's won at every level when it comes to playing. That she wanted to walk away knowing that next year with all this talent, it could get better. But she also knows it's a business.
Right.
And she didn't produce in the wins and losses. And ultimately, that's what you're judged on.
Yep, no
so
question.
We wish her the best, no doubt about it. Okay, takes of the day.
Yes.
What is your mood? Are you a happy camper, a grumpy guardian, salty skipper? Let's see where you land today.
Well, I'm actually in a pretty good mood despite all the snow we've had. Look, this is March Madness. Mm-hmm. It is, as you said earlier in the show, our crown jewel event is here, and it's upon us. It's the Boys State Hockey Tournament down at the XL Energy Center. You've got the best teams in the state. Look, 7 of the 8 teams from last year are back. Warroad is back. Hermantown is back. Minnetonka, the number 1 seed in the tournament this year. What could you ask for more than that? Heck, Edina's in it. What else is new, right? No, it should be a great Boys State hockey tournament. Put a smile on your face. Head over to the X. Go to the Expo. Enjoy what I call, it's like a hockey Disneyland over there for 3 days. And just soak it in, because what we have is unique. It's like, I don't know, Texas football, Indiana basketball, Minnesota hockey. We've got it right now this weekend.
All right, and that mood meter says, wow, happy camper.
It's a rarity.
The stars must be aligned in just the right position for you to be in a good mood. Okay, yes. Well, my take of the day, I'm just going to give a shout out to Eric Kendricks, who was let go a few days ago by the Minnesota Vikings. Cap reasons basically is why he won't be back, and he's going to land on his feet. But I want to say, look, Eric Kendricks did a lot here in Minnesota. On the field, he was outstanding. I thought he was the soul of that defense, and he did things to bring everybody together. He made key plays. I think he was a leader in the locker room. Interviewed him many times. Always enjoyed my chats with Eric Kendricks. He's got a really cool LA Kings jacket, by the way, and a Gretzky sweater that Wayne Gretzky gave him. But that said, I think off the gridiron, Wally, is really where his true impact has been felt. In the wake of George Floyd, he did so much here in the Twin Cities, leading the Minnesota Vikings social justice cause with the Wilfs behind him, backing what he's doing. And he did a lot in Fresno, where he grew up out in Cali. So Eric Kendricks will be fine, but he will be missed.
No doubt.
And on that note, let's FedEx out our thank yous. One to Alex Yambrick, David Weld, Rocky, Sean Goldsworthy, David Lavaque. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.